Okay, we are live. I am on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Rumble. My name is Catherine Vitale. I am a homeschooling mom. I'm a former candidate for Boston City Council, and I've been an activist for the past 3 years. I'm also the state director of the Massachusetts chapter of Blexit, and I am on the official Boston for Trump campaign. And I do usually random spontaneous live streams, although I've been trying to be more consistent with posting. So I've gone live almost every night this week. And I also go live on Facebook only when I'm out in public, doing all types of public demonstrations and direct actions and confronting public officials and elected officials. And I help people advocate for themselves with all types of situations, and I just do a whole bunch of things. So I also want to put my thing here on the bottom, my little ticker. I have a website. It's boston2boston.com, boston.com. If you want to connect with myself and the other activists and people that I work with and get involved in any way, or just sign up for an email list to get updates. The first email that I'm going to be sending out in a long time is going to go out next week. So if you're already subscribed to my email list, please keep tabs on your email or your spam folder if you've never seen an email from me. And today I'm on here to talk to my friend KerryAnn of KCM Interventions. And there's not really like a specific topic that we decided to talk about. We're just going to go with the flow and talk about whatever comes up, I guess. So if you have questions or anything that you want to say in the comments, let us know. Or topics that you want us to talk about, let us know. And this is KerryAnn. So do you want to say who you are?
Yeah, I'll give a little brief introduction. My name is KerryAnn, and I am a believer, a wife, a mother of adult children. I'm a grandmother of 5, all under the age of 6. I have been working in substance abuse for about 20 years. Part of the way through that, I wanted to keep going and learn more. And obviously, substance abuse leads to mental health. So I went back to school and I started working in mental health. And in all of my extra courses, I chose sociology and criminal justice so that I could literally have like all the different points of view. And my internship, I did rape crisis, domestic violence, and hospital calls for victims of rape to go sit in the hospital with them and be an advocate for them. So I'm an advocate for that as well. And because of all the other work I've done, I started getting my hands in all kinds of areas, including DCF, which is something I actually wouldn't mind talking about tonight a little bit. If anybody's comfortable or uncomfortable with that, let us know. But, I see that I come from a certain background and today I live a different life. So I feel like I have a good voice on, what it was like and what it's like now as far as experience, strength, and hope. Because at one point in my life, I was hopeless. And as a kid, I probably wasn't supposed to succeed. And like you kind of have everything stacked against you kind of thing. And I'm a fighter. And now that I'm in a situation where I have the ability and the means to help others fight or stand up for themselves, especially when it comes to like medical advocacy, or basically any humanitarian advocacy, I'm your girl.
So, KerryAnn, would you call yourself an activist?
I would, absolutely, because quite frankly, how I met you was, through the flu mandate that was going around the New England area back in, what was that, 2019, I think? Was it 2019? And I have a granddaughter that was vaccine injured, and this is all pre-COVID, obviously. She does have a medical exemption from Boston Children's Hospital. So again, I'm in that great circumstance where, you know, you kind of can't argue with me about that sort of thing because I know that it exists, and her doctors and her whole neurological team knows it exists. And you know, she has a medical exemption, but we had 4 other grandchildren. So once that happened, none of them were poked after that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it comes to doing a lot of research, you get to find out how the CDC is connected, and then how the FDA is connected, and the government is connected. And then you start getting in there. And I guess my passion would be to repeal 86 if I was ever to get into politics and try to do something super effective, it would be that. Because right now I have 2 daughters who have to figure out a way to homeschool all of their children, because we are not following the childhood recommended schedule by the CDC, because it's recommended by the CDC. Massachusetts mandates.
But what if it wasn't recommended? What if it was law?
We'd be homeschooling, which is what they're doing anyway.
Right. But so the reason why I asked if you would call yourself an activist, because I call myself an activist, as you know, as I just said.
Yep.
And I feel like in the right wing of politics, and you know, with amongst the conservative people, the word activist is like taboo. Like those types of people don't use it. They don't like it. When they think of an activist, they think of like left wing, like Antifa or Black Lives Matter, or, you know, like not to be associated with the right wing. And in my experiences, activists are the ones that actually make things happen.
Yeah,
right?
I was always under the belief that an activist is somebody who stands up for people who either can't, or I typically associated it more with a liberal stance, in a sense that I think when I was growing up, activism was, you know, fighting for women's equal rights and things like that. And now it's very different.
Yeah, but I mean,
now when I think of an activist, I don't even know what I think of today. I call myself a freedom fighter, really, or a constitutionalist, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're actually, you know,
doing something, you're getting out there and using your voice, speaking up, then you're an activist. Yeah, right. But I don't really think that.
The guest that I had on last night, it was kind of like the same thing too. She was like, well, I don't really consider myself an activist, but I guess. And
I consider myself an activist because, and listen, it might not be enough, but I know that when important issues come up, I have to stand up. Yeah. Even if it's not for me, it's for those who, you know, don't or won't or can't stand up for themselves.
Well, I'm understanding less and less with every day that goes by what can't means. Like, who are the people that can't stand up, and what is the reason they can't stand up? Right?
Yeah.
Because if you know what's going on, what is stopping you from speaking out about it, right? How do you just sit there and say nothing while people are forced out of jobs or harassed and ridiculed and have the cops called on them for absolutely not a valid reason? Or, you know, people are arrested for not a valid reason. People are being genocided there's never a valid reason for that. So I just don't understand what it means to say that people can't stand up for themselves. I think it's a cop out. I think that I mean, it's one thing to be completely ignorant or brainwashed and not know what's going on.
Yeah.
But the people that do know what's going on, it's like time's up, right?
Oh,
Like
I agree. And if you
after
don't
the
know
past
right
4 years, after the past 4 years of you knowing what's going on and complaining on social media or complaining quietly amongst your
now,
family
peers.
or friends or whatever, like, we're past due here. Like, some more people need to step up. It can't be the same 15 to 20 people throughout the state anymore, right?
I can't agree more.
Yeah. So
Can't agree
I am like at my wits' end and very frustrated with people who say that they can't speak out because it might jeopardize their job or it might jeopardize their reputation or, whatever the case may be. Um, and I say a lot when I talk about this that if you have like full faith and trust in God, then you'll be okay. You might have to struggle for a while, but you're
Yes.
going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I don't say that as somebody who, like, I don't regularly go to church. I am looking for a church and hopefully going to start going to a church. But, and I haven't read the Bible. I'm trying to work on it and get better and build my relationship with God. But even though I've never really been like a religious person, um, I've always known that, I've always just had like a calm feeling and because I believe in God and I know that he's there, and I've just always had that calm feeling of you know sure, my situation sucks, but it could be way worse and I'll get through it. And I've so many things have happened in my life that it was obviously God's work, so I don't know. I don't know which direction we're going in with that, but I'm just sick of hearing people say that they can't
Trust
speak
me.
up.
Trust me. I've had so many angry nights, crying nights. Because again, like my kids are raised, but I'm horrified for my grandchildren, like horrified. Horrified just between the amount of times that I've popped into libraries and looked through their book sections. And, I've popped on Amazon and done some searches. And every single one of those books that are listed there under certain subjects are all fairly recent. I'd say starting probably 2020 ish. To me, I feel like it's still shocking to me that people aren't putting this together as far as all of the new changes that have been slid in through under the guise of COVID. I don't even know if I'm supposed to say this or if you're going to get like, do I need to say a code word or what?
Like, don't use the V word.
Oh, okay. The hokey pokey. All right. So,
Apparently, also, if you talk about abortion, like I did last night, you got a little abortion information thing under your video.
oh yeah, I'm sure all my videos have those underneath them, but maybe not for abortion, but for the hokey pokey. So, all right, like let's talk about that. How about freedom of speech? Like, what the hell, right? I have stuff that is deleted all the time. One time I went to go log into TikTok and the whole entire account was wiped out. It was basically like, here, open a new account. And I was like, what happened to all my stuff? Gone. I don't even know how many times I've been in Facebook jail, and it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I also don't understand how it is that we had a ticker going on the TV. Remember? Cases
Oh, I forgot about that.
right? So, what I would like to see if the media was a real thing, and this is why I definitely believe that independent media is the way of the future, I would like to see the TV having a ticker of injuries. That
Right?
that would be interesting to me. However, most of those injuries are going to happen between day 1 and day 5 post coke. And then the latent injuries, which are going to be horrible and dragged out, those are going to be things like autoimmune, cancer, neurological conditions. And I think it's the timing of all these wonderful new commercials that are talking or ads that you see that are being pushed out about this thing causing blood clots and this thing causing heart attacks and this thing causing brand new early dementia. It's like they want to blame everything in the world except what
the
it is.
hokey pokey.
Yeah. And it's like, if you did the dance, and if I told you, Catherine, the amount of phone calls that I get about people who, are now looking for a solution to that, it's overwhelming and it's sad and it's scary and it's so nefarious. And I'm one of those people, like, I was just I love my government. What do they care about me? I'm just one tiny person. What could I possibly do? What could they want with me? Why would they ever be nefarious? And then, you get older and then you start looking and you realize that you're the product. It's kind of like when you're sitting there having a conversation and, we'll be done with this live. And then everything that we talked about is going to pop up on my phone.
Mm-hmm. But is it because you get older? I don't think it's because you get older. I think it's because you've had something happen to you that like forced you into caring, right? Because it seems that the violated people are the ones who step up and do something, and the ones who haven't been that affected yet, negatively to the point where it shifts their life in a dramatic way, they are content with just complaining on the internet and saying nothing publicly, right? Like you have to be directly affected for it to matter to you.
Well, I remember when there was a time in addictions where people didn't want to post up the real reasons why someone had passed, if it was an overdose, for example. And we've moved beyond that now.
They still don't, I feel like.
Well, I think that there's a little bit more awareness, awareness now, because at this point, everybody knows somebody that's been heavily affected by the opioid epidemic. Aww. And there's, luckily, some good movies on what really went down with that. What's mind blowing to me is that when people watch these great movies that talk about the opioid addiction and the exposure of that they never seem to notice the part where the CDC, the FDA, and all of that were totally complicit, bought and paid for, passing these things, changing definitions. Here's a perfect example. I mean, again, everybody, I feel like a lot of people have seen the series or the movie Dope Sick, right? And when I sat and watched that, what I saw was what enabled that opioid epidemic to take place in the.
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh my God, it's excellent. It has Michael Keaton in it. And he's a doctor, and basically, he's it's basically a story about how they exposed, the mislabeling that I think it was Purdue Pharma when they were saying that OxyContin was less than 1% addictive. And then they ended up suing, obviously Purdue lost that lawsuit because they were able to prove that they changed all the rules for it instead of changing the medicine itself, right? So a really good example of that happening in current real times right now is the very beginning of there was a double initial poke that went out, and it like immediately got pulled back. I know, right? Is it coming out backwards? I don't know. But anyway, so, and then they had to suspend that for about 7 to 10 days. And I ask people all the time, what do you think happened in that 7 to 10 days? Do you think that they recalled all of that and fixed it? before they started issuing it to more recipients, right? And they were like, I don't know. And I was like, no, they just changed the label. They just changed the label,
Mm-hmm.
and then they got back to business. And it's things like that, like things like the Vioxx lawsuit, which you probably know about that, right?
No.
Okay, so Merck's biggest seller was Vioxx, and underneath that was the FLU pokey, and they lost a lawsuit with Vioxx, and in order to make up that revenue, because they don't care, they'll just find another way to replace the money. So they really don't care about paying out. It's not a big deal to them. So what they did was, once they lost that lawsuit, in order to replace that revenue, they went state to state to try to mandate the FLU to make up the revenue for the Vioxx suit. And so that's how little they care, right? Because they're not changing anything. They're not doing anything about. They add labels. They add a warning label. That's it, right? Just like the cigarettes, same thing. So, so that things like that should be kind of a dead giveaway, in my opinion. But I will say,
But people don't know that, and that's the problem. I mean, the vast majority of people are just too busy with life to know things if they're not asking questions and they're not
yeah,
looking for information.
well,
So,
it doesn't help that the government is trying to silence anybody who is speaking any kind of truth about any
right,
of these things. Like,
which is why we need to be trying to put out this information in person and
mhm,
not on the internet.
yeah,
The internet's just so easy for us. It makes everything so convenient, but we're on the internet, we're not actually reaching anybody besides our same echo chamber circle of people who already know this
I
information.
know, I know, it's rough. It's rough, So, but that takes me back to where it was that I met you. Was again going up to the state house, standing outside there, trying to be sure that that particular mandate didn't go through. And that
I
was
was not there. I yes. I don't know yet.
was it Shannon?
Um, I keep
Somebody.
telling you guys that I wasn't there. I wasn't involved until 2020 when I was working on Shiva's campaign. And even then, still, I had not ever gone up to the state house for anything.
Wow. Okay. So it must have been through the Shiva campaign that yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that we ever met in person back then or just online, maybe. I don't
Well, I definitely know I met with Shannon, that's for sure, because I'm pretty
know.
sure she was heavily involved in the Shiva campaign at the time, somehow.
Yeah, that's how a lot of us met through the Shiva campaign.
Yeah. What the hell ever
And
happened
some of
anyway?
us came to our senses.
But yeah. So yeah, I try to get out there as much as I can.
Yeah. Um, so I don't know. I mean, we were both at the rally last weekend, the 2A rally. Nice 2A flag behind you, I see. um, it's funny because Sean Nelson and I were doing a Trump standout in Dorchester last night, and then this morning I got a text from somebody with a picture of me and Sean saying, "Hey, I saw you guys last night," and I was like, "Who's this?" And it's like, "Oh, it's blah blah blah. I met you Saturday at the rally." Oh, well, hello. um, so that was exciting because the people, I've never standouts are like not really like my thing. I'd like if there's like a campaign or something, then I'm doing standouts, but I'm not like regularly doing that type of thing. And I've never done a Trump standout. And I don't think I've ever heard of a Trump standout in Boston. So that was our first time, and there was tons of support in Dorchester. I'm excited for Sunday, although I don't know like how traffic's gonna be because it's Sunday. But you know me, you know how I feel about doing anything on weekends. I'd much rather be doing things on the weekdays when people are commuting to and from work.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, standouts are like one of those things where like it needs to be done, but you have to do more.
Yeah.
And I say that about standouts and rallies and contacting legislators. Everybody needs to be doing more than those things, because those things are like I don't even know the word. Like, they're necessary, like they need to happen, but people need to be confronting these public officials to their face. People need to be getting familiar with their local government, because so many people are so invested in national politics, they don't even know who their local reps are. And if you have no hold on your local government, then your say doesn't even matter when it comes to national politics. And that's what we have here in Massachusetts, where there's so many conservatives here, and the rest of the country has just written us off as a deep blue state and doesn't even bother with us. We had J.D. Vance here yesterday speaking to the firefighters, and I just saw somebody post like, thanks a lot, GOP, like whoever's running the Mask for Trump campaign, like, thanks for letting everybody know that J.D. Vance was here. Like, you know what I mean? And I was saying yesterday, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz come in to Massachusetts, and they're treated like royalty, and we can't even get Trump in Massachusetts because it's not worth it for him to come here, so he thinks, right? Because it's so deep blue here. But J.D. Vance comes here and no notification goes out to the Republicans. I'm a Republican now. Where's my notification that J.D. Vance was going to be here? Like, yeah. I found out the morning of, and probably wouldn't have been able to go over to the convention anyway because there's nowhere to park and I would have my kids with me. But still, if I could have put the message out a couple of days before, I could have notified other people to get them there, even if I couldn't be there myself. So, yeah. Like, and then to top it off, J.D. Vance is speaking at the convention and he gets booed. So he's booed at the firefighters convention. Like, what? That doesn't happen when the Democratic politicians come here. Nobody boos them. Nobody would dare. But people had nerve enough in a firefighters convention yesterday to boo J.D. Vance. And that's why Donald Trump doesn't come here. That's why Republican, big name Republicans don't come here, because they think that it's pointless, a waste of time, and not worth it. And the Mass GOP does absolutely nothing to fix that or change that. Like, you wouldn't even know that there's a Massachusetts for Trump campaign. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes perfect sense. It's controlled opposition. They establish the groups to make you think that there's a group, to make you think that they're doing the work, but they're not doing anything.
Right. They want you to think that your voice is being advocated for, and it's not.
I have booed Democrat politicians. I have too, but I'm just saying, when you're in a convention center with a room full of probably hundreds of firefighters, I mean, working people,
I would
those
think that
types
they
of
would be
people,
a conservative group.
they are, but the union reps are not. That's the problem. Union members do as their union tells them to do and are too scared to or not allowed to imagine being a grown man and being not allowed to say something, um not allowed to go against whoever's being endorsed by the union. I have to drive by it every single day at the local IBEW 103, that big ass billboard right on top of the highway from Freeport Street that says Boston is a union city, and now there's a big ass picture of Kamala Harris on there. I guarantee you, like 80% or more of the actual union members are Trump supporters or at least conservatives and do not agree or are not voting for Kamala Harris. But that's beside the point. They're not allowed to talk about politics. They have to be apolitical, they say. And then I saw somebody like trying to defend them, saying that, they have to sign a contract that, you know, they have to sign some paper to agree to not like talk about politics and not endorse any politicians. But the unions endorse the Democratic politicians. And then I was collecting signatures for somebody last year. I collect signatures for so many people. I feel like I don't even remember who I was collecting signatures for. Possibly myself. I don't know. I was collecting signatures for somebody at some point, and somebody said to me in front of Stop and Shop in Dorchester, that they were a teacher, so they're to Boston Teachers Union, and oh no, I don't get into politics. I just vote for whoever my union endorses. Like, can nobody see how unions have like biased what's the word I'm looking for? Biased motives or goals in mind? Because like I went to the Carpenters Union, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I went through to the Carpenters Union to basically like try to get an endorsement. I don't know why I didn't realize that that's exactly what I was doing. I kind of thought that I was just like attending a meeting and then I could just like introduce myself.
Yeah.
But then I realized when I got there, I was actually like going before the board and like asking for an endorsement. And I don't care to do that because I know I'm not going to get one. But I was there. So it happened. And they asked me if one of the questions they asked me was if I support the Right to Work Act. Have you ever heard about that? So at that time, I had never heard about it either. And they explained it to me as like a conservative bill, like a conservative law that we don't have in Massachusetts, but they have it like in red states. And it's like anti union, right? And anti union is also anti labor. So the premise, like the picture that they try to paint is that if you're anti union, you're anti labor and you're like against the working people. Like, could you be like gaslit or brainwashed any further? Like, so they explain the Right to Work Act as like an anti-union bill that basically makes it so that like union members or workers can. Is there too much background noise here? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you
Okay.
fine.
So it makes it so that like the workers, the union members, like don't have to pay dues and can still work. And so they asked me if I supported that, and I was like, well, I think I'm gonna have to learn a little bit more, like to have, an opinion or a stance on that. And I would probably actually want to talk to some union members to see how they feel about that. And hold on.
I'm going to read a few of the comments here.
Sorry. So that was something that I saw people saying about JD Vance today, was that he's anti-union. And I'm like, explain yourself. Why? Why are you calling him anti-union? Like, you have to like not use part of your brain, I think, to think that anybody is like anti-labor, like against workers.
Yeah.
Who
I mean,
who is against workers?
I think people might be, you know, against unions working with cities and states under contracts where politicians
Right.
can line their pockets,
Right.
because that's been
But
happening
that's the thing.
gangster
That's
days.
the thing is that again, my beef with the conservatives and the Republicans, apparently I have, a lot of it is on my mind this week. For some reason, it's very prevalent that I have all this beef with conservatives and Republicans now that I'm a Republican, because they subscribe to the same type of groupthink that the liberals do, and they don't even realize. And so, if you don't support Trump, then you're a rhino. If you don't, or like you don't support Trump because of like one thing that you disagree with him on. It's like at this point you gotta just go with the nominee. You know what I mean? Like if you understand politics, that's what you gotta do at this point. It's too late now to have any other fucking sorry. I'm trying not to do that so much. To have any other options. And it's just like everybody wants to be so nitpicky about what they do and do not support, and like we're at war. So like you're gonna accuse somebody of being anti-union and you know not like them because they don't agree with unions, but why are they anti-union? Like what reason do you have? Because people might say that I'm anti-union, and like I would be proud of that, because I don't like unions, because they are like lawyers. They're like the middleman between the government or the employer and the people, the working people. And so it's like if the working people, need to like fight for their rights in some way, the union is there to make sure that they don't get crazy and to keep them tame.
Yeah.
And to make them think that they have somebody fighting for them when that's not really the case.
The advocate.
And I mean, at the end of the day, the concern of the union is how what the union is getting out of it, not what the union members are getting out of it. What the union is getting out of it, because if you look at the Right to Work Act, and people are able to work union jobs without having to pay dues, why is that a bad thing? It's a bad thing because then there's less money to pay to union reps, right? Like that's the only reason why that would be a bad thing. You shouldn't have to pay. It's like a mafia. It's like a gang. You have to pay somebody to protect you. Like, why?
Yeah,
Like, who decided that this was a good idea, and how did they convince everybody that it was a good idea?
Well, personal opinion, for all the wimps in the world, they need somebody to do their standing up for them. So it's easier to just turn their will over and let somebody else be their voice.
And then what it also does, though,
after the fact, it's not like you can go and voice and say, wait a minute, I retract my free will giving over to that rep.
Yeah.
So it's modern day gangsters, really, kind of thing. It's keeping all that construction work and all that goes on in the city, mostly, because out here it's mostly small business, right?
Right.
But so in the city, my family were all union. And the way that my aunt, or the way it was back in her day, was the union reps were supposed to make sure that the people in the union were getting the right amount of medical benefits and retirement and all of that stuff. And it feels like it's taken this whole switcheroo. And, like you can kind of look at the big dig a little bit. And yes, I know I wasn't here for that part because I was out in California then, but it's kind of the same thing, right? Like, so we'll accept union bids only. Well, why? Why are you accepting union bids only? And it's because those local politicians have a deal with the union, and they're going to bill one price, do one price, and line their pockets with the remaining balance.
Yeah.
Or the,
So yeah, and so it crushes small business. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
My family also has done construction forever. And like, at a certain point, it's like there's almost no work out there anymore for small businesses because it's all being given to unions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the union members are basically just like, where do you go from that? Like, you're a union worker and you have all these benefits and like a pension and this like, very usually draining job. And then what? Like, is that just going to be your job forever? Like, you're never going to start your own business?
They're supposed to be building a big fat pension, annuity, and all that stuff. But here's the problem with that is that, these same democratic policies that are coming into place are reducing all of that all the time. And I don't think that they realize that, right? So here's an example. Like, you could take, the same exact position that my grandfather was in many years ago, which my cousin is now in. And they have certain contracts. They make good money, but it's not the same as it used to be as far as benefits, how the hours are calculated, the minimums, right? So an hourly minimum, right? So even, for example, when we go out to plow, Catherine, during the winter, we would charge the town, like, say, like a 4-hour minimum to have that truck on the road. So even if they only needed us for 2, you're paying us for 4 because we had to, prepare and all of that stuff. But, the other piece too is that I'm sure that if you hire a union company, they're going to make sure that they have the right amount of colored people, the right amount of brown people, the right amount of women, and, all of that stuff, and they get different tax breaks for that. So, for example, the company.
They also get tax breaks for hiring people that get food stamps, government benefits, or people who are newly released from jail.
Prison. That is correct. Yes. Yes, that is correct. So I know that there's other construction companies that we've worked with, and to satisfy certain quotas, I guess you could say, you got to put, if you want to put a prevailing wage job out there, you have to make sure that there's a nice diverse crew, right? Women, all that sort of thing. I'm trying not to like give names and places and all of that stuff, but trying to give examples at the same time.
What do you mean?
Well, there's a couple of companies off the top of my head that I can think of that, that you have to throw in there every once in a while to make sure that it's just the same thing as like, making sure you have a certain percentage of certain types of employees. And now those employees are getting those jobs because of a certain reason and not necessarily because they were the best at the job.
Affirmative action. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is if you hire a union company to do that job, you're going to get that, and that your bases will be covered in that. But not all small businesses have those same diverse employees. And because of that,
that's why things like that happen, is to crush small businesses and to make
Yes.
everything controlled by the government.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, I mean, I think that it's time to give it up with the unions.
I think it's
think
time for people to start looking at the history that,
Yeah, I think that ship has sailed, and I think that we have been fortunate enough to have been aware of the things happening over the past 4 years, a lot of us, and it's time now to cut the shit. Like, um, we got here as a society because of the lack of action that generations before us took. After World War II was the silent generation. They're called the silent generation for a reason. Those are the ones who got us into complacency with what's going on. You know,
pacifist.
they were so horrified at the thought of having to go back to war that they just stepped out and they were like, let's just enjoy life and not even pay attention to politics, and we're done. Like, we just want to live life. And that's when it all started. This whole, like, reuse, rinse and repeat and whatever, of our people, and then we had like the civil rights movement, the feminist movement, like all of these things were done to occupy the people who wanted to do something, and it was all like a psyop, like a trick,
Yeah.
and got nobody anywhere except for you deeper into poverty and misery.
Yeah.
And so, like, now that we just watched another psyop, but we were aware this time because we have such like interesting use of the internet, right? Because, like, sometimes things get through by accident, maybe.
Yeah.
And, most of the time things are censored, but sometimes things are able to get through. I think that's a huge reason why they want to shut down TikTok, because it's not censored. It is censored, but it's not censored in the way that everything else is. And if we don't do, if not now, when, and if not us, who, right? So if we are not the ones to step up and take action now, when we know it's getting worse, like we know pretty much what's coming, and it's so bad that it's to the point of them telling us right to our face what's coming, because they
Yeah.
know that we don't have enough manpower to stop it, and we're still just making excuses for the people who aren't going to do anything about it. So like, I agree with Violet. Like, I am pissed about the GOP too. I'm disgusted. Like, you all have a Mass for Trump campaign with a petition on it to sign to try to get a Trump rally here, like to try to get Trump to Massachusetts to speak. They have a petition that you can go online and sign. But his VP pick comes to Boston and nobody knows that it's happening. What are you doing?
That's tragic, actually.
What are you doing? And then I also heard that you have to pay for yard signs. And I just, that's kind of ridiculous too. Having to pay for yard signs. Especially like wouldn't they want to make sure that as many yard signs could get out as possible first of all, in a heated election like this, second of all, in a state like this where people think that there is no support? Wouldn't you want to just spend as many yard signs as you could and actually see how much support there could be?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't put out a yard sign because I live in an apartment and my landlords are tyrants. But I mean, when I heard that you have to pay for the yard signs, I was a little bit thrown off and
Is it
disgusted.
pay like
And
make a donation, or is it straight up like you
yeah,
can buy yard signs?
well, I mean, it's always a donation, right? it's $5 for a yard sign. I don't know if that goes to like the GOP or the national GOP or the Trump camp. I don't know where it goes, but I just would think that they would be trying to get them out there.
Yeah.
And I understand they cost money, but I mean, it could ask for a suggested donation. Instead of charging everybody $5, some person might donate $50 just because they have it,
Yeah. Yep.
But right, that's true too, Violet. You pay for it and then it gets stolen. Like, so
cameras.
More surveillance.
I know.
Yeah. So, are you a Republican?
I am registered Republican right now. I was gonna switch to independent and I didn't do it in time, but
Well, I just switched to Republican.
So I
I'm
wanted to do
backwards to everybody else.
Yeah. So there was a reason I wanted to do it, because I wanted to see if there was a difference in what I'd be receiving this year as far as advertisements and mail.
Well, no, because the thing is, they go by how you vote. So have you voted in a primary before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when you're independent and you vote in a primary, you have to.
I've always been registered as a Republican. Always.
Oh, right. So okay. So when you're independent and you vote in a primary, there's a Republican ballot and a Democratic ballot.
Yep.
So you have to tell them which one you want when you're independent. So when they send out mail to the independents, they go by which ballot they took in the primary. So there's that. But have you voted yet for the primary? It's on Tuesday. You voting on Tuesday?
Yes.
You voting on Tuesday?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like we talked about a bunch of different things.
I know.
Like where else to go? It's been
So
an hour.
I just
And
maybe
per usual.
I was hoping maybe we could get to so I want to be able to sit with people and ask them, what is it that makes you decide what party that it is that you belong to? Like what is it that makes you so convicted about how you feel? You know what I mean? Because I know that there's certain things that drive me to vote the way that I do. And I feel like this country is a business. And although we are human beings, this country is a business. And in order for it to function, it needs to be balanced. And I think that we need a businessman in charge. I also think that big government is not the answer. And it's insulting, I think, to the American people. And maybe other people aren't insulted by it, but I am, because I don't think I need everybody to make my decisions for me. So small government is a little bit better than big government, I think.
A lot of it better.
It kind of goes back to the whole Planned Parenthood thing, right? Like, oh, we have to do this because Black women can't raise their own children. They just can't do it. And it's like, that's what you're trying to convince people? Like, what do you... it's just, I don't know how people aren't insulted that the government thinks that they should be making all of our decisions, be it healthcare or all of that. Like it's mind blowing to me.
Everything. Well, I don't know if you know that the school committee for Boston Public Schools is appointed. They're not elected.
Okay.
It's the only school district in the state that is appointed. I wonder what it is for the country, if there's any other appointed school committees in the country. And we voted in 2021 to put it back to being elected because it changed in 1990. And it was one of those, like how you just said, basically like the parents aren't capable of electing an effective school committee. So the mayor is going to choose and appoint the school committee.
Yeah, no, that's unacceptable.
That happened back in 1990, 1991. And then in 2021, it was a ballot measure. We voted on it and we were like 78% in favor of going back to an elected school committee. But our mayor, Michelle Wu, doesn't want to go back to elected. So, the one who appoints them, she doesn't want to go back to elected. So instead of going straight back to elected, the city council decided, the city council, who essentially you just go right in line with what the mayor wants, even though they're not supposed to. They decided that we would actually just spread it out over the course of 4 years. Like the conversion back to elected. So it's like the first year there will be 2 members elected and the rest will be appointed.
Okay.
And then the second year there will be 2 more members elected, like a hybrid, like some elected and some appointed. And it was really messed up, like how they did the whole process. But anyway, the point that I was trying to get to. Huh?
I said I've come to really hate the word hybrid.
I know, like I don't even think I knew that word before this time in life.
Yes. Now everything's hybrid now. Hybrid schooling, hybrid cars, hybrid humans,
hybrid meetings. But yeah, so our school committee is not elected. And another like major issue that I see is that none of us are aware or educated on how government is actually supposed to operate.
I can agree with that.
Like
I didn't pay attention.
We have city councilor, Boston city councilor Erin Murphy has a commercial on social media right now because she's running to be Supreme Justice Court clerk. And in her commercial, she refers to herself as being a legislator on the Boston City Council. A city councilor is not a legislator. Legislators are state reps, state senators, U.S. reps, U.S. senators. City councilors are not supposed to write legislation. Maybe like once in 10 years, they might have to change some type of a city ordinance or, pass something for some random reason or another. But their legislation is not their job.
Every time I hear the word ordinance now, I think of you.
Right? And so it's like, it's like everything is completely not the way that it's supposed to be. And nobody knows that it's happening.
Yes, I agree.
I'm like, like on fire, like legislator, like last year when I was campaigning for myself and Sean, and I see a big sign for Ruthie Louisian that was also, she was an incumbent running for city council. She's one of our city councilors. In her sign, they added the word Democrat on top of her name. And local government is supposed to be nonpartisan. Local government is not supposed to legislate. Local government is not supposed to be political. It's supposed to be like the managers of the municipality. Like what they're supposed to work and do whatever benefits the municipality, not the Democrats, not the Republicans, the municipality. That's why when somebody runs for a town meeting or town council or select board or city council, it's nonpartisan and you don't see a D or an R next to their name because it's not supposed to be political. That sounds confusing to some people because it's politics and it's government. So how is it not political? It's not supposed to be like, party lines type political, and there's not supposed to be legislation involved. So, like, people don't know that. And when you don't know, then they do whatever they want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am just starting to now pay attention to my, excuse me, my own town politics. And mainly because, I'm sure you've heard about the school bus situation that we're having.
In Stoughton. Yeah.
Yep. And again, it's tough because my children are adult children. So it's like I'm not actively in the school system either anymore. But I still want to be able to go, and it's all bull crap, and I want to go stand against it because this is just not the country that I grew up in, and I'm horrified. I'm horrified. And it's crazy to think that my adult children, they don't even get to experience life the way that we did.
Right.
And they don't even know, like, so this has been slid in over time, and it's like they don't even know what's up or down. I don't think anybody knows anymore what's up or down unless they're being spoon fed.
Right. And everybody's, again, going back to everybody being too scared to do anything about it. Like, people are just in this like normalcy bias, like no matter what happens, like life is just going to go on as we know it. Like, no, it's not, guys. No, it's not. Look at how much has changed in the last 4 years. They are getting rid of our cars. Like, if you don't understand that, wake the fuck up. Wake up.
Yeah.
Like, we will not have vehicles in a couple years.
Well, just look at California. Look at, just so if you pay attention to what's going on in California, New York, it's here next. It's here next. So
and then New Hampshire, southern states. Well, like, I mean, there's maybe like somewhere between like 6 to 10 like blue states that are actually incorporating all of this now. But like, do you really think that it's not going to get to the red states? That they're not already building the foundations in the red states that they did here?
Of course.
Like, we're on our way. So like, you can move away and call it tactical retreat all you want. It's still going to come to you. So like, you can stand up and fight now, or you can run away and be forced to fight later.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like this. I was talking to somebody the other day about the difference between, open carry and concealed carry. And I kind of laugh about the concealed carry thing because, the reason why they want you to conceal is because they don't want your neighbor or the average citizen to think that normal people can carry. They don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't want, because in Massachusetts, if the imprint, like, so if you have that in your back, right? And even if your shirt is over it, if there's even a shape there or an imprint, that's illegal. So, and if you're my size, it's kind of hard to conceal anything.
Why is it illegal?
Because it's not concealed.
It has to be concealed.
It has to be concealed. Yeah, because Massachusetts doesn't want you knowing that your next door neighbor or
But I
anybody.
thought like a license to carry and a concealed carry were different.
A license to carry is just a license to carry, but in Massachusetts, you have to carry concealed. So, so what happens is that we become conditioned to not seeing firearms, right? Like, remember when everybody was freaking out about the young kids over in the whatever they're in the Midwest or whatever, and they, had guns really young, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, guys, the reason why it's such a shock to you guys' system is because you have concealed carry. So, yes, we have gun rights, barely in Massachusetts, but it's a concealed carry. So if I could go to a different state and you can just carry.
Yeah.
I don't have to hide it, basically. And so now I'm running the risk if I do concealed carry, if I say to put it in my purse, right? Now I have to keep that purse up against me all the time because, if somebody decides to steal my purse and runs off with it, that's a whole issue. But the point here is that, Massachusetts has been, hiding freedoms from its constituents forever. Like
Yeah.
I'd rather have open carry because I would rather, when I walk into a store, know what I'm working with. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, criminals aren't worried. For example, if there's a criminal in there doing a bad thing and they're getting ready to rob the place and I walk in, but you can see that I have my firearm with me, they're less likely to pull some crap,
Yeah.
in my opinion,
Yeah, mine too.
especially since they're probably not licensed. And real quick, in one of my criminal justice courses, the instructor was I believe, former ATF. And, obviously I went back to school as an adult, and all the people in the class were the same age as my daughter, who's now almost 30. On purpose in the class, because I already knew the answer, but I wanted all the young people to hear it. I asked the professor, I was like, okay, so how many of those cases that you guys had to work on were people who were unlicensed gun owners? Guess how many?
100%.
0 of the criminals that they busted had
Were licensed.
a legal license to carry.
Yeah.
So again, you can continue to put all these rules and restrictions on people, but in Massachusetts, you have to pass a federal background check. I mean, then your town police department can put restrictions on it. Like, so for example, when I first got mine, I was living in the town of Canton, and obviously they can't deny me because I passed a federal background check. But when it came back to my local police department, the Canton Police, at the time it was Chief Berkowitz, he decided that, which makes sense now, that the Canton Police would want its citizens not armed. But he put a restriction on it. Okay, so he put a restriction on it so that you can only have it from home to your gun range or from home to your hunting range. And I'm like, okay. So I sit down and I write Mr. Kenneth Berkowitz a nice email to let him know that, at the time I'm working at a detox that has an on-duty officer outside of it all day long, but not during the PM shift. I'm getting out at midnight in Brockton, right? Or when I was working PMs at a inpatient
So
psychiatric
you
facility.
wrote a letter to your police station?
Oh, yes, I did. Oh, yes.
I don't like that.
And then I also let him know that, I do rape crisis calls in the middle of the night. And then it would be very unfortunate if something should happen to me because I'm not allowed to have my gun to protect myself.
Right. But so I feel about this the same way I feel about hokey pokey exemptions. Because when we ask for permission to exercise our God-given rights,
Mm-hmm.
We are undermining our God-given rights and our
Yeah.
Constitution.
And there was no reason at all
So,
for that restriction. I perfectly passed a background check.
right, but a
It,
restriction is unconstitutional.
that's
Just
right.
like having to ask for an exemption is unconstitutional. Denying an exemption is unconstitutional. And so instead of people continuing to beg authorities for their rights to be respected, people need to assert them,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know? So like no, instead of asking for an exemption or writing a letter because of my specific situation, I'm gonna go and stand outside the building and hold up signs and video it and post it on social media and say, these people are violating civil rights. Can somebody help me do something about it? You know, that's what needs to be done. They need to be publicly shamed, because when you deal with it in a private way, or you deal with it only for your specific circumstance, everybody else is still getting violated.
yeah, I agree.
So,
At that time, did I know that I should go do that? No. I just sent the guy an
right,
email,
right,
and within 5 minutes, he emailed me back and said
right,
that it was fully, that I was good to go. No
right.
restrictions. But it's just
Yeah.
like, who is he to decide whether or not I
Nobody.
can protect myself?
Nobody. It's your
Right. Now, when I moved
alienable right.
to when I moved to Stoughton and I had to update it, nothing. No problem. No problem at all.
Right. Updates for when I make the attempt in Boston. Coming soon.
Seriously.
But
I got a funny story for you. You want to hear a funny story real quick?
hmm,
So, when I was living in Canton, I used to have these cute little, the little metal signs, the old fashioned ones. I had them in my bay window, and it says, if you come to this home with bad intentions, you will meet the good Lord in a gun. And a man that wasn't supposed to be on my property, and the house is pretty far set back off the street also, went to my front door. Nobody was home. Nobody answered the door. But then he proceeded to call the police and tell them that he was in fear of his life.
because
Because
of your sign. Oh my god.
so the officer says to him, "Are you on the property?" And he's like, "Yes." And he's like, "Well, then get the hell off the property then." It's as simple as that. Simple. If you're afraid for your life, no one's answering the door, but you're afraid, whatever. I just thought it was a funny story. Not nearly as entertaining as my visit to my primary care physician yesterday, to which I wore a certain shirt and then gave them a little introduction about HIPAA and stuff like that, because my doctor's office was calling around and rescheduling my doctor's appointments because my doctor had the C thing. And they were calling each of her patients to reschedule. And they were calling each of her patients and saying, "Oh, Dr. Such and such has the C. Yes. Yes." So and then, like I had to go in and, you have to do the paperwork all over again. I only go there just to make sure that I have a doctor in case I need some testing or some kind. So, and I was chased out of there for not wearing a mask. I was chased out of the supermarket for not wearing a
So
mask,
why would you still go?
because if I have to get any testing done, I mean, we pay huge money for insurance.
Well, you don't have to get any testing done.
Oh, well, so I asked them to pull a full titers on me yesterday.
A
She was like,
what?
"What? A titers?"
I don't know what that is.
It's when they check your blood work to see what your immunity is to certain things like, measles, mumps, rubella. Do you know what I'm saying?
And what happened?
Well, I'll find out when I get back. But the point of me doing that was because I want to see if there's stuff in there that shouldn't be. You know what I'm saying? So you pull it
I just
tighter.
think that doctors and hospitals are another thing that it's like I don't have, but like time's up. It's all a scam.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I
I'm just
agree.
over it.
But it's funny how though that they like to just make like the rules happen to change. Oh, well, we know more now. It's like, well, how did I know before you knew?
It's all a scam.
But you know, again, I did have a doctor
Nobody
that
is.
said to me that they're not even allowed to talk to each other
Yeah.
about these things. Where did you know, like the patient's rights go? Where did first do no harm go? Where is all of that? HIPAA all disappeared.
Well, again, all of these things only serve to undermine the Constitution anyway.
Yes.
So
I mean, how's everyone going to feel when they try to mandate things again to get a driver's license, like they were trying to in Jersey?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we'll all be driving without a license then.
Apparently, I have been doing that for 2 months. So I guess.
Listen,
I'm a licensed driver now, though.
it happens. It happens. I always have to be told to update my inspection sticker because I'm used to registering my cars in California, and you don't have to have that. Your car can look like a clown car. It could have no doors. It's ridiculous. But as long as you pass that smog check, you're good to go. So it's all about the smog check. It's not about safety.
Smog check?
Yep.
What's that?
Smog. It's it's their emissions.
Oh.
So you'll notice if you go car shopping at all soon, hint, hint, that on the sticker it will say that it passes the California smog emissions because
I can't go car shopping.
Just if you do,
I need money.
just go visually car shopping, go window shopping.
I did. I spent all of last week in car dealerships, and that's how I found out that I can't get a new car.
Oh, damn it.
Well,
I'm just saying, if you look in the windows, it will have the California emissions on there.
does California have higher speed limits?
Yes. But you got to remember that, it's much more modern out there. So it's like the roads are longer. The state's huge, for example,
I know, that's fine.
I lived up by the Oakland area. My mother lived in the San Diego area, and it was a 14-hour drive. If I wanted to go.
I used to live in Arizona.
We have family in Arizona.
Did you not know that?
Nope.
Yeah, I lived there for a whole 7 months. But driving there was very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think maybe some of us are going to Arizona this year, possibly. There's America Fest.
I would like it on that.
December 18th to the 22nd, I think.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have family there, so that works.
Yeah, so anybody watching too, you should totally go to America Fest. It's going to be in Phoenix, Arizona in December, and I think it's going to be huge.
Tell me about what's going on. Do they have anything? What's the lineup? What does it look like?
I don't know, but I mean,
do I have to wear cowboy boots?
It's a Turning Point USA event, so
all right.
I assume all of the big names will be there.
I'm down for that.
Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, Brandon Tatum. Possibly the president-elect, Donald Trump. But I don't know yet. I don't know. I haven't looked at. I don't know if they have anything posted for like the schedule or what's actually happening, but I know that it's coming, and I saw an ad for it today because I've already seen it like in the Blexit like messaging and stuff, but I just saw like a public ad for it today, so I got a little excited.
Okay. Well, now I'm a little excited. So you're gonna have to make sure that you send me that so I can book.
Yeah.
Because I
That
know
would be cool if we actually, because when we went to Detroit and we went to the People's Convention, there was a group of Massachusetts Republicans there, the GOP. But as far as I know, they like stayed in their own circle of people, and they had nothing to do with us. We never crossed paths with them. You would never know that there was a way more representation for Massachusetts there than anybody had any idea. Because people don't communicate. Well, we were all standing in the same room listening to Donald Trump speak, and not with each other.
We're gonna have to do like the school field trips where they put everybody in the same shirt so that we all know who our people are.
No, it's because the Mass GOP doesn't want anything to do with the peasants like me. I'll speak for myself on this matter. Like me. I've tried. I've made efforts. Okay. They're content staying in their circles and locking up Trump signs in barns and not doing any work to get any wins. They're fine with that.
Ugh.
But yeah, I don't know. It's been like almost an hour and a half, and I try to like stick around an hour.
Yeah.
For these things, but I don't know if you had anything else that you want to talk about, or. I mean, if we wanted to, we could like stay on here for hours because there's so much.
Oh, I know. I'm so scatterbrained, but and again, I get that about trying to be consistent. That's hard because I know I want to be trying to like pick certain topics and stuff like that so that I can keep people engaged, and I'm not really fully there yet. And plus, I don't even know if people know anything, to be honest with you. But I thought this was a good chance to
Yeah, so that's a good point to make. If you're watching on any of my platforms, first of all, I'm streaming on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Rumble. Don't tickle me. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Rumble.
What?
My daughter's trying to tickle me. Stop. Stop it. I'm trying to end this. Please, just let me end it.
Miss Charlotte, behave yourself.
Stop it. Stop. I'm being serious. So I'm live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Rumble. And so if you're not like subscribed to or following all of my platforms, please go do so. And KerryAnn is also live right now on her Facebook and YouTube, which is your Facebook, your personal account, like KerryAnn?
So the one that's linked right now is the KCM Interventions page, that's fine. And then also my YouTube, which is KCM Interventions as well.
Yeah. And also, what is KCM Interventions?
So KCM is me, KerryAnn Callahan Mofford. Mofford is my married name. And I started off when I first started working for myself. I started off doing interventions for people with addictions. And as life evolved, now I feel like, I'm utilized for a lot of different things. Like I said, like for people who need advocacy, basically in general, like even with DCF cases, I feel like DCF is a population of people that gets taken advantage of. Not DCF as a DCF takes
The
advantage of
victims,
a
the victims of
population
DCF.
who are uneducated, who they think doesn't have enough money to fight them back, or whatever it is. And again, people don't know their rights, right? So they don't even have to answer the damn door to DCF, which they don't realize either. So typically, if that happens, if somebody has a case that they need help with, they'll reach out to me, and I kind of help them, navigate what it is that DCF is asking of them, because they'll just give them a slip of rules and then be like, all right, go figure it out. And it's like, these people are like, what? I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, and when do
Right.
I do it? And how do I have to do it? And, so I'm typically there pushing along, just saying like, listen, if you do their job for them, then they're just going to want your case file off their desk. I know that sounds horrible, but so, and then, if I know if I know what the claim was, and I can typically get a care plan in place for them before they even get to meet their case manager. So, and that gets the ball rolling too, because, then they're on top of it. Yeah, it's like going to the RMV, they give you one piece of information at a time.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, oh, you got to do this, this, and this.
I know.
So,
I've been through three
there's a lot of that.
different DCF cases, so
Yeah. So there's a lot of that where people just don't know their rights. And so that's where I come in, to just kind of like bridge the gap a little bit of communication and try to explain to these parents, like, what does that mean, and get them through it. And I've been successful a couple of times.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
so you're basically like you pretty much just started like a new YouTube channel
Yep.
um to talk about just like a little bit of everything, right? Or is
A
it going to
little
be
bit of
like specific?
everything. I'm early in politics, so I don't, know a whole lot about it, but I'm trying to learn from everybody around me.
We learn as we go. You'll be running for office next year, don't worry.
But the issue closest to my heart is probably, medical freedoms and natural healing, and for anybody who has children out there, there's a natural method for the treatment of each one of those childhood scheduled things. Um, and there's a lot of material out there on how to deal with that. I know that when I was younger, like, we used to have chicken pox parties. And so everybody in the family got together if somebody had it. And we did like this, 10-day sleepover with the one person in the house, one person in the family that was a stay-at-home mom. So they sent all of us kids over there, and we got to have a long sleepover, and that was fantastic. And now they don't do that anymore. They have fake um, immunity,
Mm-hmm.
which I have a theory on as well, but I'm not going to go there right now. It's too late for that. But it's funny that you should say, like, you're frustrated with, like, it's been enough time. You can't be lazy anymore. It's really like that, because that particular poke, for example, is so manageable. It's ridiculous, that particular illness. And I'm convinced that the reason why people think that they need it is because they don't want to take an effing week off of work to dab calamine lotion on their children. Personal
Right.
opinion.
Because nobody's a stay-at-home parent anymore because feminism.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love feminism. I love having to be able to be all of those things, a man and a woman. I just love it. I just love having to do it all, or be expected to do it all. I mean, luckily, I've put myself into a place in my life where I got to find a wonderful conservative man who supports women to be with their children. And now supports me to help with my grandchildren so that our daughters can be mentally and emotionally available to parent their children without having to worry about the end of the world coming. So I bear the brunt of that weight so that they can suit up and show up for their children.
Yeah. So you're doing like a lot of great work. And also like shout out to your husband.
Yes, absolutely.
um,
He's a man.
mhm. So yeah, so that's who KerryAnn is. And maybe we'll be back on sometime for another conversation in the future, probably.
Oh, I'm sure.
If you want to go and subscribe to her YouTube channel as well, that would be great. And I don't know. I think that like I'm done here for tonight. I probably like look exhausted because I am. And I'm like running out of things to talk about because I've been doing videos all
I
week
know.
long.
I feel
And that
so
actually, I feel like that's kind of the thing too about being consistent with videos is that you feel like you're being really redundant and you keep talking about the same things over and over again, but like also you have to keep talking about the same things over and over again.
well, yes, that's how
Because there's
that's how
always
the
different
Democrats do it,
viewers. And
right?
if you're building your like viewership and followers, then chances are if somebody's watching a video, then they didn't see the last 5 because they're new. So
Yeah.
I don't know,
And
but we're
also, just
trying.
really quick, if anybody out there is confused about anything that Catherine and I discussed today, or has any questions, concerns, or hate mail for us, like totally hit us up. We're down for the conversation. I might not seem, again, like we just did this last minute. We didn't pick a topic or anything like that. Catherine's been really great about holding me accountable. I'm trying to get online, and I've just been so chicken shit. And so she mommed me last night, and she was like, "Listen, girl, you're just doing it. That's it." Like just, she was like, "No more. Like, cut the shit. No more excuses." And I was like, "Ooh, God damn that Catherine! She's so effective." But here I am, and it also, you know what I mean, like and same thing. If we start doing it and I know you're not scared, but I am. I'm horrified. I'm horrified of everything. So,
What do you think I'm not scared of?
what am I
I'm
scared of?
scared. I'm scared. What do you mean? What are you saying I'm not scared of?
You are one of the bravest women I know on this planet.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you
No, I'm
totally are.
not.
But you are though, because you are. Because
I'm not. I'm
I don't want to
horrified.
use the word envy, but I really admire the lengths that you're willing to put yourself through, because I know you've been given hell, and I probably would have folded 20 times over. So, but I'm working on it,
Yeah,
and I
but
know
it's
if I
not
have you
because I'm
come up
not scared.
to people who stand up to this stuff, they do it because there's like this
Because
spiritual
that's what needs to be done. There's no
exactly.
other options.
Yep, I agree.
But it's horrifying at the
It
same
is horrifying.
time.
So, but it's good practice. So thank you so much for pushing me through that, because I was dragging my heels like 100 pounds of lead attached to my ankles.
Yeah, so we'll be looking for your posted schedule on when you'll be going live
Yeah,
regularly.
I do have people that I am lining up to speak, and that's another thing too, is that I'll be doing a little bit of everything. So if anybody has an impactful story to tell, regardless of the topic, right? So again, like I know I do addictions and mental health and rape crisis and all that. So if anybody has an impactful story to tell, they're more than welcome to reach out as well. Because I don't just do this or just do that. I do like a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
But, extra shout out to Catherine for, basically shoving me down the stairs on this one. But I'm not broken. I made it through it.
Made it through, and we
Made it
came
through.
and we did, and we're done, and it's bedtime.
Yes.
So thank you guys for watching. Again, per usual, the viewer number is always much larger than the number of people commenting. So hopefully, as we go on, we'll have more engagement in the comments from the viewers. If you want to get in contact with us, you can always go to my website, boston2boston.com, as you can see on the scrolling thing below here. And I also have my Cash App and my Venmo down there if ever you would like to help support any of my efforts, because I do a lot and I'm all over the place and things need to be paid for. Gas money, I pay for my StreamYard account, pay for my Twitter account, and I am currently unemployed. And anytime somebody can help or contribute or show up, it is greatly appreciated. So yeah, thank you for chatting on this lovely Friday night.
Thank you for having me.
I'll talk to you soon, and everybody else, I'll probably see you tomorrow.
Excellent.
All right.
And Sunday.
Oh, and Sunday. Oh, yeah, and Sunday, because there's a Trump standout. Sunday, 1:00, Southie. Be there.
Be there. All right, guys.